Hello, faithful, and welcome to Heaven's Metal Streaming Radio here on YouTube. I'm your host, Keven Crothers, station manager for Heaven's Metal Streaming Radio and staff writer for Heaven's Metal magazine. Today, we're going to dig deep back to 1982. We're going to be talking about the third albums from Swedish hard rock band Jerusalem. Jerusalem were one of the very first pioneering hard rock outfits that melded hard rock and roll with Christian lyrics. Their original albums were, for many of them, most of them, they were all recorded in Swedish, then subsequently re-recorded into English. And, it definitely, there were some differences. The album we're talking about today, their third album, is entitled Warrior, released in North America in 1982, originally recorded in Swedish, and released in Sweden in 1981 on the Prim label. In Sweden, the album was called Krigsman. Here we got Warrior, and released on Pat Boone's Christian rock label, Lamb and Lion. Yes, that Pat Boone. I've always thought, what great artwork. Honestly. I mean, that's an album cover. You see this, and immediately I go, I want to hear that. I want to know what that sounds like. I don't need just a band cover where they're standing there, hey! This sets a mood. This sets an expectation, doesn't it? And I think most certainly it does. Credited on the album, obviously band leader, main songwriter, guitarist, and singer, vocalist Ulf Christensen. He wrote all the songs. Great. This album is some of his best work. Peter Carlson on bass guitar. Dan Tybel. I know the Swedish pronunciations are all a little bit different than my English ones, so I apologize. Dan Tybel on keyboard and Klaus Underhill on drums. And if I understand it right, after the album was released, Klaus, the drummer, he left, was replaced, and I should have, but I don't have it right in front of me as far as who took his place. And it is pretty much the main drummer that would stick with Jerusalem for the rest of their initial career run. Peter Carlson came on board. I believe the bass was actually recorded by someone else for the album, even though Peter played bass on the subsequent tour. You've got 8 tracks on here. The production is snappy, it's punchy, it's tight, honestly, it sounds fantastic. For 1982, there are parts I listen to it, the drums sound really good. They're, like I say, punchy and tight. I've even got my cassette that I bought way back in the day, Lamb and Lion. Gotta still have all that stuff. And of course, we can't forget our friends over at Retroactive Records, who did a remaster reissue of this album going on 4 years now. This sounds phenomenal. It really sounds phenomenal. The drums sound great. The toms have great intonation and resonation. Everything sounds just top notch. One of my favorite Jerusalem records. So what do they sound like? They definitely have a vibe that's more a 70s hard rock sound, much more like, say, Uriah Heep, Deep Purple, maybe a tinge of Thin Lizzy in there, maybe as far as song structure, but you're not going to get a Ritchie Blackmore or Gary Moore or Scott Gorham type lead guitar playing. That was never, I'm not saying that Ulf probably couldn't play, and there are some great lead playing on this record, but he was always a songwriter. and wrote really powerful songs, very lyrically, very much in your face. They're right in your grill. Constantly changing. The album opener is a driving hard rock starter. Goes right, and they shot a music video for that song. They also shot one for It's Mad. And people have said through the years, "Oh, I saw it on MTV. I saw it on MTV." And I'm sorry. Here in North America, I watched a lot of MTV in the early days, and I never saw Jerusalem. Now, I'm not saying it didn't happen once, maybe even twice. Somebody will undoubt it. It's like I never saw Deliverance, Weapons of Our Warfare on there, but they got played. I remember seeing Barren Cross once. But this came out in '82, so we're talking the Genesis part of MTV, where they were playing all kinds of stuff. So it's possible. I just never saw it myself. Title track, Warrior, starts off. It cranks with this great introduction, and then it kicks in, very atmospheric. You just go back and you look at this album cover. And the beginning of that song, I just imagine what it would be like. And it's one of those songs you listen to with headphones. Great tune, very anthemic.
I never dreamed I'd be a fighter one day. Now I'm enlisted in the heat of the fray. Entrenched on the front line, fighting for God. He is the commander, we move at his word.
But it wasn't, the songs all clock in at like 4 or 5 minutes in length, except for one. We're actually a little more than 5 minutes in length. You're not getting 3-minute pop rock tunes here. This is definitely something that I'd love to see. Somebody do a heavy metal version of some of these tracks. The third song, Pilgrim, is a little more refrained. It's very, the guitar is very clean. It's not overdriven or distorted. I don't know, is he playing through a Fender? That kind of thing, where the other parts of the album, it sounds like you got a full-on 100-watt Marshall stack going. Pilgrim, it's a cool tune. It's a little more, again, a little more refrained, a little more withdrawn, but it's got a good hook. There's a great harmonic part, and if you listen carefully, you can definitely hear it. End of side one is this more of a poppy rock tune called It's Mad. I've never really been a fan of that. I think the keyboard part in the beginning kind of just sets me back a little, personally. They did shoot a music video for that. Again, very unusual in Christian rock circles in 1982. Side two kicks off with one of the best Jerusalem songs, a definite all-time classic, Man of the World.
Yeah, you must sacrifice all for your life on the line. Oh, yeah. As he died, you must die, so you live as he lives. Do you want to survive, man, on this world? You better make up your mind, man, on this world. Do you want to survive, man, on this world?
Which they replay on the live album in His Majesty's Service. But on this version, the guitars are up front, the keys are up front. A great hard rock, pseudo heavy metal song. Just absolutely, it's got a great hook. Man of the World, you're aiming straight for the top. Man of the World, soon you'll be the cream of the crop. With your well-paid job and your brand new car. Man of the World, you can't see how poor you are. Will you make a change? Man of the World. Great tune. goes into the sixth song, which is an epic, 12 minutes long, kind of proggy, I suppose. They're not like all massive time. It has a long, long build, almost like Queen, I suppose, with the piano. And the song, of course, I'm talking about is Sodom. And it's a call to, our lifestyle as Christians, as non-Christians. It's a call back to, godly living. We're living in Sodom. And it's not a reference to one specific sinful act. It is just talking about the state of civilization. And you listen to it and it builds. It starts with this piano and it drives and it builds and it builds and it builds, and absolutely a all-time classic. A song that could it even be written today, especially with that song title, with all of the baggage that it carries? Probably not. The seventh track, Ashes in Our Hands. This world is crumbling. Ashes in Our Hands. Another great hard rock tune. Almost kind of got a little boogie thing going on, but not kind of a 50s kind of vibe to me because of how the keyboards and everything is structured. Fantastic tune, another favorite of mine. And then we get to the album closer, which is the ballad. It's called Farewell. It is mostly acoustic driven with some bass and drums, but definitely a more mellower song. This record is one of the all-time, and it's one of the all-time best. I think, if you're looking at a top 20, and I'd have to go back and pull out my Heaven's Metal, I don't think we had this anywhere in that, because we're talking about influence. This album, in most respects, for most people, they're going to listen to it, and here's the thing. Ulf's vocal is not for everybody. He's very grovelly, very raspy, very emotive, but just his tonality, not everybody appreciates it. I've always dug it, personally. But Warrior from Jerusalem, an all-time classic record. Subsequently, the guys, they went on tour. They did tour North America. I believe they toured with Res Band across the U.S. They played Greenbelt. They toured in Europe. On subsequent tours after this, they did a tour with Motorhead. Yeah, they did. In mainland Europe, there were shows they played with Motorhead. Kind of crazy, right? But they did. Still, one of the godfathers, if you will, of Christian hard rock. Sometimes heavy metal at times, but more 70s style hard rock. So this record deserves to be heard. It deserves to be in your collection. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Hey, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And until the next video, God bless.